Can you guys see my screen? It says Earth and Human, Evolution of Life on Earth. Okay, so if you guys can see, let's begin our lesson today. So today is going to be on the Earth's evolution and the human's evolution. So Earth, since the very beginning, went through a lot of stages. So there are different stages in our time period where every event happened. So first was the hot start, where everything began as a hot ball. It's called the Precambrian Eon, and it's called by the scientists. And it happened around 4.6 to 4 billion years ago. And then there was a time period called life beginnings. And during this time, new life started to form. And this was from 4 billion to 541 million years ago. And the next period was the age of animals, where animals were being developed. And scientists call this time period the Paleozoic era. And this happened approximately 541 to 252 million years ago. And next was the dinosaur time. Do you guys know about the dinosaurs? There are these giant and big reptiles that roamed on Earth during 252 to 66 million years ago. So if you guys have heard of dinosaurs before, this should sound familiar to you. And next came the Ice Age, which happened from 2.58 million years ago until present day. And then finally, humans came to existence, and scientists call this present era the Cenozoic era. And this happened from 11,700 years ago to present day. So yeah, this person is spinning because this is a huge piece of time of our history and started from the Big Bang all the way to our present day. And we will get into detail of each one right now. Okay. So the very beginning, it was a hot start. And it's also called the Precambrian Eon. If you guys can see, Earth was formed from 4.6 billion years ago, and it was originally from a mixture of gas and dust that was gathered around the sun. So Earth at first was mostly a liquid magma, which is 1000 degrees hot. If you guys don't know what magma is, I've inserted a picture here. This is a form of magma, and the magma is formed when rocks are melted, and you can see, of course, this is really, really hot. And Earth was over again 1000 degrees hot during this period. So you can see that Earth again was one hot, almost like a fireball, that was entirely made out of magma. Again, magma is a melted rock, which is really, really hot. Again. Well, what happened next? After the Earth was formed and it was a hot ball of magma, well, asteroids started crashing into Earth. If you guys don't know what an asteroid is, I put a picture on the right here. You can see the rocks that are hurling towards space, hurling towards our Earth. So these rocks that are floating in space are called asteroids. So remember that just the rocks or particles that are floating outer space is called an asteroid. So when the Earth cooled down, it was almost a bare land without anything. But when the asteroids came crashing into Earth, it formed water on Earth. That's how scientists believe it today. So asteroids again started crashing into Earth, and it brought water and life to Earth. And again, formation of water marked the start of life on Earth. So you can see on the picture bottom here that almost entirely Earth was made out of water. And again, before it was a hot fireball, but now it cooled down and the asteroids from outer space brought water into Earth. Okay. Now, what happened next though? Well, with water, life began to form approximately about 3.7 billion years ago. That's how long the first life on Earth began. So the first life formed were microscopic organisms. I remember talking about this last week briefly, but again, microscopic organisms are called microbes that are too small for us to see. So in the picture middle here, these are microscopic organisms or microbes, as they call. And again, this boy is calling out, it's so small, which we can't even see with our naked eye. It's really, really small. You can only see it with a microscope. That's why it's called microscopic organism. And some of these microbes were able to provide oxygen to the atmosphere, making Earth livable for other organisms too. So you can see now that the Earth is filled with clouds and oxygens. It has an atmosphere now, which means that the microbes, those living organisms, those small living things, were able to provide oxygen to the Earth and making these atmosphere. You can see the clouds too. And he is saying, oh, fresh air since he can breathe now, since oxygen is what we breathe. And that's what's created by the microscopic organisms. Okay. If you guys are good so far, let's move on to the next stage. Okay, the next stage was the age of animals, where animals started to develop. And scientists call it the Paleozoic era. It's during this time, around 541 to 252 million years ago, more diverse organisms started forming. So if you guys don't know what an organism is every living thing that have pieces that work together. So you can think of organisms as just living things that are in our society. Like we are organisms as humans. So organisms such as fish, jellyfish, and other marine animals like the trilobites started forming. You can see the picture here that there are many of these weird animals that are started forming. Before it was just a microscopic, really small organism. But right now, during this Paleozoic era, things like fish and jellyfish and other weird creatures started forming. Okay. So the detective says, let's take a closer look. So I have a video prepared for you guys, and this video shows the different organisms that lived during this period. Okay, I hope you guys can hear this. All right, so these are just examples of different organisms that lived during the Paleozoic era, which is the age of animals. It's like this. You know that many of these living things were weird shaped and they don't have, let's say, the traits that we have and other organisms of the present day. I would like to tell you guys that all of these organisms are extinct, which means that they don't exist. But you guys can see these are really huge, really huge organisms. lived during this period, and you can compare how big these organisms were. Humans were bigger. So during this period, there were humans were not existent, but it's just a comparison between a human if it were existent during that time. So humans didn't exist during this period, but it's just an example, just for comparison. Don't be worried about it. Because humans are getting bigger, and this one's sort of shaped like a shark and a fish together. Here's an even bigger one, and it was 5 to 8 meters long. Fish. Yes, hello?
Okay, it's like the video is very loud and they cannot hear what you are saying. So you lower the video, then we can talk. Okay.
Oh, they cannot hear what I'm saying, but
Yeah. The video, the sound of the video is very high. So you can reduce the sound of the video at your end so that they can hear what you're saying.
oh, okay.
Is that
So
okay?
yeah, I can maybe
All right.
pause the video when I have something to
All,
say. But
all,
I was just
all
talking about that. This comparison is between a human and the organisms that are living here. And you guys could see that all these organisms are really weird and shaped like an alien that is not from Earth, but all of these were existence on Earth during this time period a long, long time ago. And I just wanted to say that humans were not existing during this period. It's just a comparison. They just put a human being to compare the size between us and the organisms. Humans didn't exist until like millions of years later, but this is just a comparison. And of course, you guys could see that all of these organisms were huge, either huge or very small, but all of them were shaped really weird as well. And I have this like short video as well. This is a trilobite, and this is a simulation of this organism that moved during this time period. So just a really short video. Okay, that was a short, uh, almost like a GIF, but that was a trilobite, which you can see is like a little tiny crawling creature that is underwater. And so you guys were able to see a bunch of animals that were being developed. And again, before it was just a small microscopic organism, and it developed into these further, more developed creatures that we have on Earth. But in addition, also continents started to make shape. So what I mean by that is that during the Age of Animals or the Paleozoic era, continents, which are just pieces of land, started appearing due to volcanoes underneath the oceans. So during the same period, you guys know the volcanoes, right? Where it explodes and shoots out a bunch of magma and lava. So these events happened underwater, which means that if the volcano erupts, the lava and magma cools down to form the land we are on today. So the ground that you're standing all rose from the volcanoes that are underneath the ocean. So you can see further with these pictures down here. Left is just a picture of a volcano that is just erupting. And again, a magma is a really, really hot liquid of rocks melted that are underneath the ocean. So it rises and forms the land by cooling down. So it first began as small islands, but later it formed continents and bigger lands that we are standing. Okay, if we were good with that, let's move on. So the next stage. If you guys have heard of dinosaurs before, this is the time of dinosaurs, which are known as the Mesozoic era. So many organisms in this previous era, like ancient fish or trilobites, started to die because of a sudden change in the temperature. So the weird creatures that we just saw in the video they all died out because of a change in temperature. So as a result, some of the surviving organisms came onto land, and those animals or organisms became into dinosaurs. They developed into what we know as dinosaurs. And first trees also formed in the warm air as well. So the picture left shows a dinosaur, which you can see that it varies in size. Some of them are really big, some of them were small, and some of them could even fly. And you can see the picture right. There are these tropical trees and bushes and ferns that were being developed. And all these were formed during this time period. And if you guys want to see more about dinosaurs, I actually have another slide. And these are just two examples of really famous dinosaurs that we know today. And one is called Tyrannosaurus Rex. I believe if you guys have heard of this before, of course, it's a really dangerous and it's called the apex predator of that period, which means that it was the highest predator, which means that it hunted down other animals, other organisms, other dinosaurs. And it was just the highest in the hierarchy. So if I click here, this boy is yelling, and he's running away. And because it's really big compared to humans, and it's really scary looking during that period. And not all dinosaurs were scary like the Tyrannosaurus Rex, also known as T-Rex, but there were also really calm animals like calm dinosaurs like Triceratops, which we know today because they have 3 horns. That's why they're called the Triceratops. These animals were herbivores, which means that they only eat grass. So Triceratops were herbivores, they eat grass or other berries, and T-Rex or Tyrannosaurus Rex were carnivores, which means that they eat meat and other dinosaurs. And these are just different types of dinosaurs that lived during this time. Okay, so the dinosaur ruled the earth for quite a long time, from actually 252 to 66 million years ago, until asteroids started striking into Earth. Again, it's the same asteroid that we talked about before. The asteroid before, remember, I talked about the rocks and the dust that are flying in space. Those are called asteroids, and they started striking into Earth and killing all the dinosaurs that are living on Earth. Again, not all the dinosaurs died from the direct impact of the asteroids, but the gases in the air started forming because of the asteroids. And because there was a blocked sunlight and the temperature was really, really hot, all the dinosaurs died during this period. And I have a video here. Actually, before we watch the video, yeah, this is a boy. You're like, no, because all the dinosaurs are dying. You can see in the picture that they're crying, and one of them is already dead on the ground. You can see the fires that are rising around. It's all because of an asteroid that struck into Earth. Again, rocks that are being thrown into Earth, crashed into Earth, and formed like this. And I have a video here which simulates the event of this happening.
During your pregnancy, you'll
Okay. So I hope this video is not really loud, but okay.
When the asteroid struck, most of the impact energy was deflected out or up. Only 1% of the force traveled down into the ground. But it's enough to ring the planet like a bell. Seismic waves radiate across and through the Earth. "16 minutes and 40 seconds later, they reach the Pacific Northwest. The valley shakes as a magnitude 11 earthquake ripples through the ground. Triceratops panic at the edges of the valley in their desperate attempt to escape the tremors and falling debris. Smaller animals take shelter underground. Meanwhile, the ejecta cloud approaches at 16,000 kilometers per hour, baking the Earth with unrelenting heat. Millions of volts of static electricity charge the cloud like a giant battery, creating a vast electrical storm. Superheated rocks shower the valley in a burning hail. The Quetzalcoatlus managed to flee the devastation caused by the quake. But there's no way to hide from a rain of fire. If his mate doesn't find shelter soon, she'll be next. On the mountain slopes, two triceratops emerge above the cool sea mist. They're almost out of the quake-ravaged valley when the ejecta cloud arrives. Just hours ago, North America was a dinosaur paradise. Now, it's a living hell. The ejecta cloud continues its spread across the globe, but the effects it has on the ground vary dramatically. "12,000 kilometers away in Mongolia, the cloud rolls in silently from the east. Temperatures on the ground creep upwards, a few degrees hotter every second. There's no audible warning for the creatures here, only the mounting heat. As the air reaches 50 degrees Celsius, their only hope is shelter. At 70 degrees, survival is measured in minutes. And at over 90 degrees, in mere seconds. 90 minutes after impact, the temperature on the ground in Mongolia peaks at 150 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, so you guys could see that all the dinosaurs died because of an asteroid, again, that struck on Earth. And that asteroid is just a floating rock, but when it crashed into Earth, it blocked the sunlight. You can see in the video that the gas was so dense and it was so dark that it canceled out the sunlight, which blocked the heat. And the Earth became, again, a living hell where it was so hot that it rise up to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. 150 degrees Celsius, which is a really, really hot weather. And none of the dinosaurs could survive this, and they all died on the spot. But what happened after the dinosaurs? Well, as a side note, Pangaea, which is a really big supercontinent that formed, which is a big chunk of land from volcanic eruptions, started to form the shape of our continents today. What I mean by that is that the Pangaea is a really, really big chunk of land. That's how scientists call that. Scientists called a really, really big piece of land a Pangaea. And that is what shaped how Earth is shaped today. So this was due to the continents moving along the oceans that are formed on Earth. So this boy's telling us there's a picture on the next slide, which shows exactly what I mean. So here you can see the before and after the continental drift. So again, this big piece of land is Pangaea. It's called Pangaea, called by the scientists. And after the continents started to spread out and they all gathered into the shape of our globe today. So after it looks like this, where again, Africa's here, Europe's here, South America's here, North America's here, and Arctic is here, and Antarctica is here. But before this familiar globe, everything was a one big chunk of land with North America and Africa really close together. Um, Back in the day, North America and Africa were touching each other, but now they're all separated. It's all because of the current of the oceans that separated the pieces of land. So again, these lands were formed by volcanic eruptions underneath the ocean, like I talked about before. And this is how the Earth is like today. Now, next stage was called the Ice Age. And Earth, due to a high level of oxygen and a low level of carbon dioxide, was covered in ice. And this is known as the Ice Age. So remember that the microbes or microscopic organisms create the oxygen that we breathe. And a lot of that oxygen made Earth really, really cold. So it made Earth almost entirely made out of ice. And that is why it's called the Ice Age. It's pretty easy to remember because ice, it's cold, and Ice Age means that it's a cold period of Earth. And you can see this person is freezing since the weather dropped really, really low. And again, a recent one happened 2.58 million years ago and went until 11,500 years ago. So that big chunk of time period was all the Ice Age. And the Ice Age, the land probably looked like this, since everything again was covered in ice. So again, this person is saying freezing cold because it dropped to a really, really low temperature during this period. So it's almost the exact opposite of when the Earth was first created, because when Earth was first created, it was almost a hot, entirely fireball, which means that the temperature went over 1000 degrees Celsius, which is really, really hot. But now the Earth froze, making it below the 0 degrees Celsius, which brought it down to a really low temperature. Can you guys hear me so far? Yes. 또 나가. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Like my screen share is still loading. My screen share is still loading. Okay. So you can see the screen, right? Did you guys hear me about the
Yeah, we can see you. I think the problem is from you. We can see you.
Okay.
Hello.
All right. So I'll continue.
Hello.
Hello?
I see us.
Your screen is frozen, so I only hear. Oh, it's better now. Yeah. Oh, it's better now.
Okay.
Okay, let's continue with the Ice Age. And I'm not sure Earth was really, really cold due to the high level of oxygen and a low level of carbon dioxide. And it was entirely covered in ice. And this was known as ice age. And because the microbes or the microscopic organisms that created oxygen made Earth really, really cold. And you can tell by its name, Ice Age, that ice is really cold. And you can think of it as that the Earth was really, really cold during this period. And this person is freezing because it is below the freezing temperature. And a recent one started 2.58 million years ago and went until 11,500 years ago. And the picture, you can see this is an average day for a day in the Ice Age. And you can see almost entirely it's covered in snow and ice. And you can imagine how cold this place is. And this person is saying freezing cold. Don't freeze. Well, you might imagine that no organisms could possibly live in this period, but during the Ice Age, actually mammals started to form. So if you guys are not familiar with the word mammal, so mammals are organisms that have babies and not eggs, like us humans. So mammals during the Ice Age include the mammoths, saber-toothed cats, giant sloths, Irish elks, and mastodons. So these are type of organisms that live during this period. But inside the organisms, there are different categories, but these are called mammals because they have babies and they feed milk to their offsprings or their babies. So this is a picture down below in the Ice Age and what animals and what mammals that lived during the Ice Age. Well, now before we talk about the human beings and how it's developed, I would like to quickly recap over what we have done so far, how it has been developed. So can you guys hear me okay? Because I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me. Okay, good. Yeah, okay, good. So I hope you guys heard everything I said so far because I'm
David, David, maybe. Hello, hello, David. David, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hello? Uh-huh. Yeah, I can hear you. For me, I can hear you.
Okay, it's
But
like
maybe you have to bring your accent, but you now have American.
yeah, it's really delayed because I can't hear you very well. It's like 4 second delayed. Um,
Oh, okay. Okay, let's go on. Let's go on.
okay, what did you say about like the accents and how I should? Okay, I think I can just continue
You
on.
should be a bit slower so that they can hear
Oh,
you.
okay. Yeah. So to cover everything that we have talked about so far,
You understand?
yeah. Okay, yeah, I understand. Okay. So a review of everything that we have talked about so far. Remember that the Earth began as a hot fireball, which was extremely, extremely hot since it was almost entirely made out of magma, which is again a molten rock. It's a melted rock. So the Earth was made out of a melted rock. And next, life started to begin, remember? by an asteroid. An asteroid is a rock that is flying in space, and it crashed into Earth, and that brought water into Earth, as well as life, which the first organism was a microscopic organism. We're just reviewing, and also oxygen formed as well by these microscopic organisms, which are really, really small organisms that lived on Earth. Again, during the age of animals, more complex animals started to form. And you guys could see in the video that there are many weird and alien-shaped creatures that are underneath the ocean. Next, remember how land was formed? Again, land was formed by a volcano that is underneath the ocean. And when it rises, the lava and the magma cools down to form solid rock. So the rock we're standing on today is formed by the volcanoes. Quickly reviewing into dinosaurs again. So dinosaurs, as all of the alien and weird creatures died out, the dinosaurs became developed and it formed the first tree as well. Again, this is an example of a couple dinosaurs. And again, the dinosaurs died out because of the asteroids that struck the Earth. Asteroids are rocks that are hurling into Earth. And when it crashed, it blocked the sunlight and the temperature went really, really high. So it was really hot. And that killed all the dinosaurs that are living on Earth. And after dinosaurs, again, remember this continent, a big chunk of land got split into multiple chunks of land, which is shaped like this today. If you guys have a globe at school, or if you can search it up in the internet, this is how the Earth is shaped. But back in the day, it was a Pangea, which is a huge piece of land that is all together. But it got all separated and shaped like the continents that we see today. And remember, the Ice Age came after, when the oxygen level rise, and the Earth was really, really cold during this period. That's why it's called the Ice Age. And then during the Ice Age, mammals started to live. So mammals are organisms that have babies, not eggs, like humans. And mammals during the Ice Age are mammoths, saber-toothed cats, giant sloths, and stuff like that. You can see in the picture more clearly. Okay, now, finally, we're into humans. So humans, which are present time, scientists called it the Cenozoic era, since it's called the present. And this is a human being, the picture in the middle. So we are humans. Humans are the most recent species called the Homo. And I'll get to this more in detail in the next slide. But humans have went through evolution from 2 million years ago until today. So humans were more developed as time went by. So a trait for a human being is a long limb, short teeth, the usage of stone tools, and having larger brains than other animals, a vertical face, and a short jaw. And scientists believe that we all came from monkeys, and this is a theory by scientists. They believe in the theory of evolution, which, remember, we talked about last week, but we'll get into more detail too. But scientists believe that all human beings came from monkeys. So if you guys can see a picture here, it looks a bit weird, but this is the full development of a human being. So first, it was almost a monkey or shape of an ape. Then it began developing more and more and more shaped like a human being, like us. So again, this is the human development that we have. And to name all those, we started off with the Australopithecus, and we developed into Homo habilis. We developed into Homo erectus. I'm just reading the names here. Homo neanderthalensis, and our current Homo sapiens, which we are Homo sapiens too. Again, getting into detail for the first ever species that were ancestors of humans. So these are called Australopithecus. So these are they look quite similar to apes and monkeys compared to humans, but they were considered to be the early ancestors of us humans, and most of them lived in the continent of Africa. And ancestors, again, is like your parents and your mother and your father and your grandmother and your grandfather. They're all ancestors to us because they all came before us. And scientists believe that these Australopithecus species were considered to be ancestor to us. And although, again, they look closer to monkeys and apes, they surprisingly share the same genes with us. If you guys don't know what a gene is, well, a gene is a trait that are passed down from your ancestors. Again, from your father or from your mother or from your grandfather or your grandmother. So genes are, again, like a traits like the shape of your face, the shape of your eye, the color of your hair, and the shape of your body, and how you talk, how you react. All of them are connected with genes. So again, these Australopithecus, these similar to monkeys and apes, they had the genes of humans. They had the traits of humans. And again, this boy is yelling, "That was me." And yeah, this was the ancestors of human beings, surprisingly. Okay, next, what happened after? Well, the Homo habilis started to being developed. Well, Homo habilis existed from 1.6 millions ago until, I believe, 254 million years ago. And compared to the Australopithecus that we just saw on the last slide, Homo habilis had larger brains and smaller heads and smaller teeth. So they had more of a human-shaped figure than the Australopithecus. So I have a picture here, one of them showing the Homo habilis. And the picture, uh, hello? Hello? Okay. I hope you guys can hear me better now, but um, again, remember that I think we left off, you guys were cut out after we talked about the Australopithecus. Again, these are monkeys and apes. And now we are moving on to the next human species, and it's called the Homo habilis, which existed from 1.6 million years ago until 254 million years ago. And again, compared to Australopithecus, Homo habilis had larger brains compared to Australopithecus, and they had a smaller head, and they had a smaller teeth. And they had a more human-shaped figure than the Australopithecus. So I have 3 pictures here, and the picture on the left shows a Homo habilis. So you can see that compared to Australopithecus, Homo habilis looks really similar to us. Not quite there yet, but you can see that this is way more developed than the Australopithecus. And the 2 pictures on the right compares the skull size of an Australopithecus and a Homo habilis. So the skull on the left is a skull of an Australopithecus, again, Australopithecus is a monkey or ape that has a genes of a human. So they believe to be the ancestors. And it is more developed into Homo habilis, which has more of a straighter skull. And again, they have a smaller teeth and they have a smaller head. But they do have a larger brain, which led to other human developments. Well, after Homo habilis, we have the Homo erectus, which is from 1.6 million years ago until 250,000 years ago. Well, Homo erectus looks more closer to us, and Homo erectus was known for being able to stand upright. Well, the erect of Homo erectus means upright, which means that they were able to walk normally like we do. So before Australopithecus and Homo habilis all were almost on fours and they were all bent. They have a bent neck and a bent back, which means that if you can see in the picture here, Homo habilis were shaped like this, while Homo erectus were standing upright and were able to have a straight back. So it is more developed since the skeleton system was more upright in our body and it had a more structured system for Homo erectus. So again, the Homo erectus is shaped like this. This is a picture of a Homo erectus. And again, all of these are ancestors of us human beings. So you can think of Homo erectus as our great, 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 great grandfather or something like that, because they existed a long, long time ago. So what came after the Homo erectus? Well, we have Homo sapiens, which we are today. So all of humans are Homo sapiens. I'm a Homo sapien, you're a Homo sapien, and everyone's a Homo sapien right now. So from 250,000 years ago until today, Homo sapiens are what we know as modern humans, having changed significantly since the Homo erectus. So the brains of a Homo sapien was more developed and they were able to think critically. They had more round faces and they had a fixed facial structures, which means that they had fixed teeth in place and they had fixed eyes and skulls and they had every fixed bone structures and more. So the picture right on the left here, on the bottom, is a picture of a Homo sapien. And you can see that all of these were really shaped like us now, really look similar to modern humans. But this was, again, quite a long time ago, and the Homo sapiens started to gather together. They started to work together. They started to live together. And they were, again, able to create fire, stone tools, and Homo sapiens started making a lot of developments on the way. And actually, next week's topic is on the human development, which shows how humans develop stuff like the stone tools, the bronze tools, and we'll also talk about the modern industries and how everything is created by Homo sapiens. So we're not going to be moving on so far because we do have a final review. And again, the very beginning was formed as a hot ball of fire. And it was from 4.56 million years ago until it led to present day to us humans. And that was a really long journey. And we will finish up this lesson with a final recap video. And this is a 10-minute video that reviews everything we have talked about so far. So it's going to be really okay. So I hope you guys are able to hear the sound, and I'll begin the video.
In the past few billion years, Earth has been pummeled by asteroids, crashed into other planets, and frozen over several times. Not to mention being ruled by all kinds of crazy life forms. Sometimes it's a wonder that our blue homeworld has survived it all. But if we want to take a whirlwind tour of our planet's history, we'll have to start way back at the very beginning.
But the Earth was created.
Some 4.5 billion years ago, our solar system began to emerge out of a dense cloud of interstellar gas and dust. This cloud collapsed into a swirling disk of matter that got hotter and hotter and hotter until hydrogen fused into helium. And just like that, our sun was born. And baby Earth was on its way too. After the birth of our star, all the matter on the farthest ends of the spinning disk began to clump together. These clumps would be the seedlings for the planets and moons in our solar system. As they accumulated more matter, they grew bigger and more spherical. The clumps in the cooler regions of the solar system were mostly made of ice, liquids, and gases. Closer to the sun, all the rocky material formed the inner planets like Mars and Earth. This young Earth was incredibly active, volcanically speaking. It spewed out gases like hydrogen sulfide, methane, and carbon dioxide. These gases made up the very first atmosphere on our planet. Early Earth was constantly bombarded by large asteroids and comets, and soon Earth experienced an even more violent collision. Theia, a planet the size of Mars, slammed right into our young world. This epic collision threw chunks of matter all around Earth's orbit, and then gravity bound them together into what we know now as the Moon. On this hot, early Earth, there were no oceans. All water existed as gas. But 3.8 billion years ago, our planet cooled enough for water to condensate and become liquid. The very first primitive ocean covered this young Earth and turned it into a water world. H2O is an essential ingredient for creating living things, so with all that water, life appeared on Earth about 3.7 billion years ago. These earliest forms of life were microscopic organisms, but it was nearly a billion years after that that some of these organisms changed the course of the world. Earth didn't stay as a water world very long. Soon, the very first continents emerged from the ancient ocean. Scientists call them cratons. As more and more land rose from the ocean, the very first supercontinent appeared on the planet. Valbara wasn't exactly a supercontinent. It was pretty small. Scientists think it was smaller than the continent of Australia. Around 2.4 billion years ago, cyanobacteria evolved to become our planet's first photosynthesizers. Finally, we had some oxygen producers to make Earth's atmosphere much more hospitable. And the rest is history, folks. Just kidding, we've still got a long way to go. With all this new oxygen, Earth's atmosphere had much lower levels of carbon dioxide. And that made the planet icy cold. Much of our young world froze over as Earth saw its first ice age. Now, as Earth's atmosphere was changing, the continents were moving too. They broke up and reassembled into the next supercontinent, Rodinia. Rodinia was a real supercontinent. It may have been the largest supercontinent to ever cover the planet. And life? Well, life finally became more complex. But then something happened. Rodinia broke apart and a new supercontinent assembled. This one was called Pannotia. Then, between about 540 and 485 million years ago, there was an explosion of new life. This time was called the Cambrian explosion, and the animals that evolved during this period had hard body parts, like shells or spines. The most famous of all were the alien-looking trilobites. Around 440 million years ago, the climate suddenly shifted and the temperature of the ocean changed dramatically. Earth saw its first mass extinction event. This was the Ordovician Silurian extinction, and a majority of the life that had been spreading around the planet vanished. Many of these life forms laid the foundation for the ecosystems that we have on Earth today. Somewhere between 420 to 350 million years ago, the first trees arose from Earth's soil. And the first animals made their way to land, too.
Here's one thing you need to do before you buy anything online. Don't spend another dime on Amazon.
250 million years ago, the planet was covered by our last vast supercontinent, Pangaea. Sadly, it was also during this period that Earth witnessed the greatest mass extinction event in our history, the Great Dying. Huge amounts of greenhouse gases and accelerated global warming wiped out about 90% of all species on Earth. But this mass extinction helped pave the way for the next wave of animals to evolve. 240 to 230 million years ago, the first dinosaurs appeared. For the next 150 million years, they'd rule the land. If you were there, you'd have witnessed the gigantic sauropod Argentinosaurus, the largest land animal ever. Or you might have been chased by one of the Earth's greatest apex predators, the T-Rex. And you'd also witnessed Pangaea breaking up and forming the continents we know today. Okay, you may already know where this is headed. 66 million years ago, an asteroid slammed into our planet, right where Mexico sits now. And it coughed up so much debris into the atmosphere that it blocked out the sun. This led to devastating climate changes that caused the dinosaurs to die out. In the next wave of emerging animals, mammals became more common. Around 6 million years ago, the earliest known humans started walking this world. This species was called Sahelanthropus, though they still likely walked on all fours. 4 million years ago, early humans began to walk upright, and about 1 million years later, they developed the first known tools, which they used to break things. Some 800,000 years ago, things sparked. These early humans discovered how to control fire and could now cook food and provide themselves with heat. Their brains continued to evolve, now more rapidly than ever. These humans learned to interact with each other and the surrounding world in whole new ways. Then, between 40,000 to 15,000 years ago, all other human species besides Homo sapiens went extinct. 10,000 years ago, Earth saw...
Okay, we're going to stop here because the later chapters are explained on the next video. So next week, we're actually going to be talking about the further human developments that we had, such as developing stone tools, developing bronze tools, and a lot of machineries that we have today, and how those came into existence. So yeah, this was it for today's lesson. If you have any questions, you guys can ask right now, so I can go back and answer any of the questions you guys have. Yeah, do you guys have any questions?
have a question for David, you can still come and ask. Okay? If you don't understand anything more, you can just ask that he answers your question. I have a question. Any question? Just move forward and ask. Yes. Hello,
Mr.
you have a question? Just go and ask.
Like it doesn't have to be. It can be any question. If you guys don't have any questions, it's also fine.
Any question? Come and ask. I can't read for you. Come and read it yourself.
Yeah, it's okay. You guys don't have to ask any questions if it's okay.
David,
Yes.
somebody, one of them wrote something, but I say you can't pronounce it. It's Triceratops or whatever.
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I want to chat. I want to type it for you so that you can see it.
Oh, okay. Typing. Oh, so she wants to know more about Triceratops, or
Exactly.
oh, okay. I can definitely show you.
Please, can you see? Hello?
Yes, hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Going back to the slide.
Okay. So you guys are wondering what Triceratops actually are. Okay, so Triceratops, I showed you guys a picture. It's a type of dinosaur, and it's one of the major dinosaurs that roamed around during this period. And I can show you guys a more general picture of a Triceratops. Oh,
You want
if you guys
so what
call it the Triceratops. And compared to humans, it's shaped like this. It's really big, about like 5 to 8 meters, and they had 3 horns. That's why it's called a triceratops. They had 3 horns. So tri meaning 3, and ceratops, which is type of the species. So it had 3 horns, and it should look like this. It has 3 horns. You can see 1, 2, and 3. So that is why it's called the triceratops, and it is a type of oh,
How like this follow twice? You have to try it three. Get
so this is a dinosaur that lived during that time. And not sure if you guys, it's the sound of a triceratops.
no, wait.
That was just the sound of what triceratops make. And
We have to learn.
Do you guys have any other questions? Yeah, that was what a Triceratops was, and it was a dinosaur that lived during the Jurassic time. And it had 3 horns, and you guys could see it closer. Any other questions? I can answer them right now. If you guys, it's okay if you guys don't.
Another question again. That is okay. Or you have any? You have any? Okay. David, I'm not sure they have any question. But if you have a question, you can ask them as well.
Oh,
Hello, David.
you? Okay.
If you have a question, you can ask them. Yeah.
Okay. So it's just a little quiz. What was the Earth made out of when it was first created? Do you guys remember? What was Earth made out of when it was first created? 4.6 billion years ago. Do you guys remember from the slide?
How was the Earth when it was first? How was it? How did it look like? The beginning, how long time? Yes. Okay. One of them is coming to answer your question. One of them wants to answer your question. Speak, you hear. I speak louder. Yeah, we are working with time. Speak. I'm sitting here. It's only one, but now it's divided. What is only one, but now it's divided?
Can you repeat it, or if you can use the chat again to type, that would be better. What he said.
All right. All right. Thanks. Good, yeah, you.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Earth was in a liquid magma in the beginning. Yeah, that's right. It was over 1,000 degrees hot when it was first created. And yeah, he's correct about that. And
Any other question?
yes,
Okay.
like
David,
I,
is that correct?
no, I want the students to ask any questions. I don't really want to ask the students any questions. So are you sure that the students don't have any questions so far?
He doesn't want to ask a question. He wants you to ask him so that he will answer it for you. Okay? If you have another one, you can bring it. He doesn't want to ask you. Want you to ask him. Come and say it. We are trying to teach you how to talk. Yes.
Please, what is Earth evolution?
Sorry, what is
What is what questions, man? Evolution.
so you mean what is the definition of the Earth's evolution? Okay.
What is Earth evolution?
So evolution, Earth evolution it means that how Earth was developed and how Earth went through a lot of stages until it formed what we know Earth as today. So Earth evolution is the process in which Earth goes through these different stages that I talked about today. Remember that Earth went through a lot of stages. It was a hot start at the first, and there were life beginnings, age of animals, dinosaur times, ice age until present day. That is all the Earth's evolution, and it is basically a process of the Earth forming into present Earth. So you can think of it like that. It's a whole process of how the Earth was developed. So it's called the Earth's evolution, how the Earth was evolutionized until present day. Yeah, I hope that answered your question. If that
All right. So I think they are clear with that. Any other question?
What makes the gases of the earth block the sunlight?
what is
Makes the what?
Gas
The gases
of the earth
of the Earth
block the sunlight.
to block the sunlight.
Oh, okay. So what makes the gases of the Earth to block the sunlight? So remember that the gases that created killed all the dinosaurs. So how did that gases form? So I think I talked about this before, but remember the asteroids? Remember the asteroids that are rocks that are flying in space? They crashed into Earth, and when it crashed, a lot of dust got exploded up. So the collision and the explosion caused the gases to cover the Earth. So it's all from an asteroid, which is again a rock that's flying in space, that crashed into Earth and formed the gases. It did not got emitted from a certain place. It is from the collision and the explosion that caused the gases to form. I hope that answered your question. It was from the asteroids that crashed into Earth that formed the gases.
Any other question? Any other? Okay. Are you sure that's exactly what you do? Huh? That is what? URUS. URUS.
Oh, so highlight a bit on Tyrannosaurus. So I think he wants to know more about the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Again, like I mentioned before, the Tyrannosaurus Rex is the apex predator, which means that it is the greatest predator that lived in that dinosaur period. So if the screen close, yeah, I can search it. Shortened, it's called the T-Rex because it is the Tyrannosaurus Rex. And to highlight more about the Tyrannosaurus Rex, okay, so basically, it was the biggest predator that lived during the period. So it can hunt down every other dinosaurs possibly that lived during the same period because it had sharp jaws to make it easier to hunt. They were really fast, so they can catch up to their prey. And again, they had strong jaws and teeth. They had really, really sharp teeth, which can bite into a lot of dinosaur skin. So it hunted down other dinosaurs because of these traits that the Tyrannosaurus Rex had. And you can see that the arms of a Tyrannosaurus Rex is really small compared to its feet. So it had really strong feet for it to run fast. And again, it was shaped like a modern reptile, which was developed from the past dinosaurs, but you can see how big the Tyrannosaurus Rex compared to others. And this is Tyrannosaurus Rex eating another dinosaur, and it hunted down a lot of the other dinosaur species. So compared to human beings, they were really, really huge. And this is actually an accurate size comparison between a human and a dinosaur. So imagine this is you. It's quite more smaller than this. So imagine this person is you, and imagine the T-Rex is in front of you, and it's about, yeah, that much times bigger than us. So you can see how much scary it is, and you can prove that Tyrannosaurus Rex was indeed an apex predator during that period. And that's something more about Tyrannosaurus Rex if you are curious. Um,
Okay, I'll tell you. I thought about these as these that are Fungi or whatever.
okay, so sorry if I didn't clarify what Pangea was, since it is, I talked about it really shortly. So if I could share my screen again. Okay, so you guys could see the screen, right? Okay. So you're wondering what a Pangea is. So again, a Pangea is, you can think of it as a huge chunk of land. It's called a supercontinent, which is just the land that is really, really big and all combined into one. You know how current countries and continents have different areas? So again, Africa is isolated and it's far away from North America. And Europe is far away from South America, and Africa and let's say Asia is almost at the exact opposite of the globe. But Pangaea was a supercontinent which held all of the continents together. So before it was all just a big piece of land. And the land is called Pangaea. It's just the name of the land, basically. The name of the land was called Pangaea. And again, it got all separated into the continents that we know today. And Pangaea, Africa and South America were right next to each other. And India and Antarctica were right next to each other. And even Africa and Europe was right next to each other. So before, as a Pangaea, it was a whole big chunk of land. But later, again, it got separated. That's what Pangaea is. It is the name of a supercontinent, the name of a really big chunk of land. Yeah, I hope you understood that since I spoke about it briefly, so I think that is
All right.
it.
I think that's all for.
Okay. So I think
I think that's all for today.
okay. Next week we're going to be talking about the human development. So how humans started using tools and how humans started using bronze and metals. And we are going to be talking about the different advancements humans made in civilization. So right now we just talked about until the Homo sapiens, and later we're going into more of a present day history. So yeah. And thank you for listening to everyone. It was really long, but I hope you guys learned at least something out of my lesson. And yeah, I hope to see you guys next week.
All right.
All right. Yeah.
I'm also grateful for the lesson. It was long enough, but I'm sure they have picked something up. Yeah.